Hello, and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Wicked, Chapter 3 of Uprisings. Norris was beside herself. In a short time, her whole life had changed, so utterly. The world was more magic than ever, but it seemed lodged inside her now, not outside. Her body was waiting to flame, to blossom, and no one seemed to care or notice. Lear had become a water boy for the expeditionary soldiers. Irti spent his time composing long devotional libretti in honor of Lorena. In a state of uncertainty over the men in residence, the sisters remained confined to their chambers by their own inclination, yet quivering with readiness should things change. Nothing could change, as convention dictated, unless Sarima married again. Then they would be free to court. Their domestic campaigns to throw Commander Cherrystone and Serena together, however, met with no success. They redoubled their efforts. 3 even approached Auntie Witch for a love potion from that magic encyclopedia. "Ha!" said Elphaba. "That'll be the day." And that was that about that. Nor, bereft of companionship, took to hanging around the men's dormitory, trying to pitch it with chores that Lear wasn't asked to do, that men didn't care about. She hung up their cloaks in the sun. She polished their buttons. She brought them flowers from the hills. She prepared a tray of summer fruits and cheeses that seemed to please them, especially when she served them herself. One young, dark, balding soldier with such a captivating smile liked her to pop the orange segments right in his lips, and he sucked the juice from his fingers to the mingled enjoyment and envy of others. "Sit on my lap," he said, "and let me feed you." He offered her a strawberry, but she wouldn't sit on his lap, and she loved refusing. One day she decided to treat them to a full-scale chamber cleaning. They were out doing an inventory of the vineyards on the lower slopes and would be gone all day. Nora arranged herself with rags, yoked herself with buckets, and since Auntie Witch was deep in conversation with Nanny about, it seems, Sarima, Nora swiped the witch's broom for its thicker brush and longer handle. She headed to the barracks. She couldn't read much, so she ignored the letters and maps that spilled from the leathern satchels left carefully slung over the back of a chair. She tidied the trunks and swept in an effort to raise a lot of dust and felt warm. She took off her blouse and slung one of the men's rough capes over her sun-browned shoulders. It gave off such a heavy aroma of maleness, even after its airing, that she nearly swooned. She lay down on someone's pallet, the cape just slightly falling open, so that she could imagine falling asleep and having men return and see the beautiful line of flat skin that ran between her fresh new breasts. She considered pretending to fall asleep, but she knew she couldn't do this. She sat up, dissatisfied with the possibilities, and reached out to grab the nearest thing. It happened to the broom, so she could wax something in frustration. The broom was out of reach, so it lunged a little toward her. It came across the floor of its own accord. She saw it. The broom was magic. She touched it, almost fearfully, as she were to guess it had intentions. It felt no different from an ordinary broom. It nearly moved, as if guided by the hands of an invisible spirit. "What tree are you whittled from? What field are you mown from?" she asked it, almost tenderly, but she expected no, and she got none. The broom quivered and alleviated itself a little off the floor, as if waiting. The cape had a hood on it, and she drew this up over her face, that she hiked her summer skirt to her knees and threw one leg over the broom to ride as a child rides a hobby horse. The thing rose tentatively so she could keep her balance, trailing her toes on the floor, correcting. The center of gravity was high, and the span was so narrow. The top of the handle tilted farther up. She slid down from the shaft until she was caught against the brush, as if it were a saddle of sorts. She held on tightly, her legs especially, and up in the upper thigh, as if they were swelling, the better to clench the handle between them. The large window at the end of the room hung open for air and light, and the broom moved a couple of feet across the floor till it reached the sill. Then the broom rose a few feet and carried her out the window. Nora's stomach pitched, and her heels beat against the underside of the brush. Mercifully, she had urged not in the castle courtyard, where she would likely be seen, but on the other side, where the land did not fall quite so far and fast. Nora wailed softly in the strangeness and ecstasy of the adventure. The cape flared out, exposing her chest, and how could she ever imagine she wanted to be seen without a blouse? "Oh, oh," she cried, but whether to the broom or to some guardian spirit she did not know. She shuddered with exposure and shock, and the broom rose higher and higher until it had to come to a level with the uppermost window, which was the witch's tower. The witch and her nanny were watching, open-mouthed and cups of tea halfway to their lips. "You come down from there at once," ordered the witch. Nora didn't know if she was the one being addressed or the broom. She had no reins to tug, no words of magic to wield. However, the broom, apparently chastened, turned back, descended, and made a somewhat clumsy landing on the floor of the men's barracks. Nora flung herself off, weeping and shivering, and recoiled herself properly. She didn't want to touch the broom again. Then she picked up the life she had gone out of it, and she carried it up to the witch's apartment, expecting a severe reprimand. "What were you doing with my broom?" barked the witch. "I was cleaning the soldiers' quarters," gabbled Nora. "It's such a mess. There are papers all over, their clothes, their maps." "Keep your hands off my things, you," said the witch. What kinds of papers?" "Plans, maps, letters, I don't know," said Nora, regaining her spunk. "Go look for yourself. I didn't pay attention." The witch took the broom and appeared to consider hitting Nora with it. "Don't be a fool, Nora. Stay away from those men," she said. "Stay away from them." She raised the broom like a truncheon. "They'll hurt you as soon as spit at you. Stay away from them, I say, and stay away from me." Elphaba remembered that the broom was given her by Mother Yakel. The young woman had seen the old mount as crippled, senile, a bother, but now Elphaba looked back and wondered if there was more to her than met the eye. Was the broom magicked by Mother Yakel with a vestige of some cumbricial instinct? Or did Nora have a power developing in her, and she bring it out in a senseless broom? Nora apparently was a fervid believer in magic. Maybe the broom was waiting to be believed in. Would it fly for Elphaba too? One night, when everyone else was tired, Elphaba brought the broom out to the courtyard. She felt a little foolish, crouching down on the broom like a child on a hobby horse. "Come on, fly, you fool thing," she muttered. The broom twitched back and forth in a naughty way, enough to raise welts in her inner thighs. "I'm not a blushing schoolgirl. Stop that nonsense," said Elphaba. The broom rose a foot and a half and then jumped off feet. "I'll set you afire and that'll be the end of you," said Elphaba. "I'm too old for the sort of dignity." It took 5 or 6 nights of trying for her. She could even manage to get 6 feet off the ground. She had been useless in sorcery. Was she doomed to be this useless at everything? It was a pleasure finally to scare the barn and bowels and outlaws and bat senseless. It was good to be abroad. When she had more confidence, she wobbled down from the valley to the remains of the Ozma's regions at a dam. She rested and hoped that she wouldn't have to walk back. She didn't. The broom was resistant to her intention, but she could always threaten it with fire. She felt like a night angel. In midsummer, an Arjiki trader came along with pots and pans and spools of thread, and he carried him with him some letters left at an outpost farther north. Among them was a note from Frex. Apparently Nanny had told him of her intentions to hunt Elphaba down, and and he wrote to the Monterey, which had forwarded her letter on the Kiamiko and the Vinkus. Frex read that Nesserode had orchestrated a revolt, and that most Munchkin land, or most of it anyway, had seceded from Oz and set itself up as an independent state. Nesserode, as the eminent Throb, had become the political head of state. Frex apparently thought this was Elphaba's birthright, and that she should come to Colwyn Grounds and challenge her sister for it. It may be that she isn't the right woman for the job, he wrote. Thought, though Elphaba found his apprehension surprising. Wasn't Nesserode the warm spiritual daughter that Elfie could never be? Elphaba had no thirst for leadership, and did not want to challenge Nesserode in any way. But now the broom seemed able to carry her for long distances. She wondered if she could fly to Colwyn Grounds and spend a few days seeing Papa, Nessie, and Shell once again. It had been a dozen years since she had left Nessie and Shiz, drunk and sobering, following the death of Clutch. For Munchkinland to be free of the wizard's iron grip, that alone would be worth the trip. It made Elphaba grin a bit to herself to feel her own contempt for the wizard flare up. Perhaps this is what healing meant, after all. To be safe, one afternoon, Elphaba went through the soldiers' empty barracks. She paused through the papers. All the documents related to the issues of mapping and geological survey. Nothing else. There seems to be agenda of threats to the Arjakis and the other Vinkus tribes. The earlier she went, the sooner she would return, and it would be better if no one knew. So she told everyone she was taking a period of isolation in her tower, and she wanted neither food nor visitors for some days. When midnight struck, she set out to Colwyn Grounds, now the home of her powerful sister. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.